Okay, right, I've said several times in previous videos that the Spectrum's library is so vast that it's impossible to have played every single game, including some games that some people regard as classics. Now, for me, the Pyramid is one of those. I've not heard many bad words said about it at all, and it seems to be held in very high regard, but I've never played it. It's a 1983 release from Fantasy Software, written by Bob Hamilton, and it forms part of a trilogy of games, including Doomsday Castle and Backpacker's Guide to the Universe. Now, Bob Hamilton only has half a dozen games credited to him on World of Spectrum, and appears to nowadays be enjoying anonymity and to have withdrawn from the scene, which, you know, is entirely his right if that's the case. What you're going to see next is the last interview that can be found of him from Sinclair User in April 1984. Again, I've taken these pictures from World of Spectrum. But it would be interesting, you know, if Bob is out there, if, you know, he was aware of the regard his work from the early 80s was held in to this day. I think it would be really nice, and I'll touch on that later in the video. Now, this game did not have a loading screen. What you're seeing here is the fantastic loading screen that Andy Green created. Now, I will pop a link below to his website where you can see examples of yet more fantastic screens for games that did not have loading screens that Andy has created. Really worth checking out. Some of the work is spectacular. So here we go. We're into the Pyramid. Now, as you can see, there's no redefinable keys option here, but you do have various key options, keyboard layouts that you can use, etc., as well as the normal joystick controls. There's the Pyramid itself. Now, you play a character called Ziggy, and the goal of it is you've got to escape the pyramid by starting at the top, working your way through the various rooms, etc. And how you do that is you will see the exits to the rooms at the bottom are blocked off. Now, in order to open them up, you've got to shoot enough aliens for a crystal, as you can see there, to come down. Wait for that crystal to turn from white to yellow, then to blue. Once it's blue, you can collect it and then drop it on an exit. Now, that was only the first screen, so it only needs one crystal, but as various levels go on, you need to get more and more. Now, whilst the crystal is white, it's indestructible. Whilst it's yellow, it's vulnerable and can be destroyed, which can be a royal pain in the arse if you're just about to get it. And it can also, if you've collected it, you'll know you've collected it because your character will turn blue. But if you make contact with a baddie whilst you're collect it whilst you're holding the crystal, you will lose it as well, and you'll have to sort of start your efforts all over again. So that can be quite infuriating. Now, graphically, it's quite simple, as you can see. There's some very, very nice alien designs. The graphics are colourful. They do what they need to do. There's a lot going on screen. It can sometimes seem a little bit unfair because, you know, you can collect a crystal just at the bottom of the screen and be going to drop it off in an exit, and then, you know, an alien can come up from below up your backside, and you lose the crystal and you have to start all over again. So yeah, it can be quite frustrating. Sound wise, it's got the usual Spectrum bleeps and blobs, etc., and fiery squishy squidgy laser noises that were popular back in the day. So how does it play? Well, it's very difficult. I find it very difficult, as an awful lot of you will have mastered the game, I'm sure, and think, what on earth is he talking about? And at times it can be quite frustrating, like I've said. But having said that, it's got an awful lot of just one more go about it. It really is quite an addictive game, despite being at times, or seeming to be, quite unfair. That just might be down to my game playing skills, because we all know I am the world's worst game player. Now, these particular baddies are my favourite sort of ones that I've encountered so far. These kind of cookie monster faces is how I sort of describe them. And as you can see, that there can be an awful lot going on the screen. Now, there we go. I've managed to collect the crystal there and drop it off just in time. Yeah, so as I always ask in these videos, what are your memories and recollections of the Pyramid? Do you know the game at all? Are you like me? It's a game that you've heard of but never sort of played until today or given a sort of second thought to. Did you like it? Did you loathe it? If you hated it, what was it that you hated about it? Did you ever manage to get very far in it? You'll see that I managed to get not very far at all. And similarly, in relation to the sequels, are they worth playing? Are they of a similar quality to or standard to the Pyramid? Or are they better than or worse than the Pyramid? I'm interested to know, to see whether or not it's worth checking those games out. Now, going back to what I said about Bob Hamilton in the intro thing, there's been a few sort of instances where, you know, developers from back in the day, you know, nowadays no one seems to be able to contact them to sort of like ask them questions or, you know, share their thoughts, if they're still alive, that is, you know. Examples would be Mervyn Estcourt, author of 3D Death Chase. I don't think anyone's heard from him for a long time, despite efforts. I don't think Greg Follis and Roy Carter from Gargoyle Games have been interviewed for a long while, and also for a hell of a long while it seemed that Don Priestley was nowhere to be found until Sean McClure's book that he did last year, ZX Spectrum Guide Games 1982 to 1984, when he managed to track Don Priestley down and interview him, which was really, really interesting. Now, as well as that, there's also the Reedies from Microsphere. Does anyone know what they're doing nowadays? Now, of course, people are entitled to anonymity, and if that's their choice, then that's got to be respected. But I do often wonder, you know, do they, if they're sitting there sort of in their living rooms, etc., do they ever sort of harken back to the time when they used to create games, etc., and wonder, you know, whether or not people still play them? Are they aware of the scene? The fact that the Spectrum, well, not just the Spectrum, but other systems, etc., are very, very popular still nowadays. And the fact that their games and work is still held in high regard and people appreciate what it is that they contributed. I mean, these are all what ifs, and, you know, I understand that, but it would be nice if, you know, every now and then, you know, people could be sort of found, located, and sort of just appraised of, you know, the fact that, you know, their work was so well received and meant a lot to so many people. If you are going to do it in a non-stalkery way, please. But anyway, back to the Pyramid. I found it quite difficult, very difficult in places actually, but strangely for me, I actually kept on coming back and having a go at it and seeing if I could get a little bit further and a little bit further. I didn't manage it. Of course I didn't manage it. This is Bazza. I never managed to get very far in a game. But, you know, you've got to give me 10 out of 10 for enthusiasm and at least trying. Alright, okay. Right, yes. I would recommend you try the Pyramid if it's a game that you don't know. If it's a game that you do know, please, 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 like I said before, share all your thoughts and memories, etc. I'm interested to know them. There's not an awful lot more to say, so I'm going to let the rest of the gameplay video play out. If you like the video, please let me know. If you wish to subscribe, please do so. But if you do subscribe, as I always say, please, please, please take the time to join in the discussions, etc., because that's what it's all about. Thank you ever so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye. I've got to go and walk the dog now.